Recently, I took a stroll down memory lane and revisited some memorable moments from my life. Memories of places, people, and things that have made me feel that warm, happy feeling, that specific sense of joy that creates that contentment and peace of mind. Many things made me feel that way throughout the years, like friends, family, and other relations. But other things kind of surprised me when I look back on it. That feeling of belonging to something often related itself to video games. Thinking back made me realize that some games just have that special place in my heart where it can keep me loving it for the rest of my life. Typically games that I used as an escape throughout my childhood and teenage years and early adulthood. Places that I can return to from time to time, knowing every street, every twist and turn, and every character. No more surprises, nothing I don't know. A place that I can just exist in. I turn on the game because I already know that it can provide the feeling that I'm craving. The game feeling like home.
What are the satellites saying, Victor?
Right now, not a goddamn thing.
Many of you who have been watching this channel from the very start know that I have a soft spot for Naughty Dog and for Uncharted. Their games were the first truly story-driven games I ever played. Uncharted 2 being the literal first story-driven game I ever played. Since then, I've been a faithful fan of Naughty Dog. Played every game since, and also some before. But none of their games have made me feel the way that I felt about Uncharted 4. That game was the one game I have been the most hyped for my whole life. For it to live up to my expectations I had for it was a tough ask, but it did. I've played that game about 15 times since its release in 2016. And somewhere in those 15 playthroughs, a feeling emerged subconsciously in me. A special connection between me and the game became clear to me. I liked how familiar everything became. How predictive and relaxing the game began to seem. That game became more and more of a way for me to relax rather than to entertain myself. When I was sad or needed some space or just rest, I would play Uncharted 4 to kind of unload and just be for a minute. I knew exactly what to expect from each level, and I knew if I needed that Madagascar feeling or that maroon feeling. Uncharted 4's game world became so familiar to me that it began to feel like home. The score, the story, the overall ambiance of the game is something I can get lost in, and have been lost in countless times. Uncharted 4 is what I would call my ultimate comfort game. That game is to me what a warm blanket and a cup of tea is to so many others. Coziness, calmness, and a sense of familiarity. For some people, their comfort game is something completely, entirely different. And that's okay. That's actually what I think is so great about this medium. People like very different things, and under specific circumstances, any game can become your comfort game, just like Uncharted 4 has become for me. A lot of credit certainly goes to the developer, in this case Naughty Dog, for making the game as good as they actually did. Other games I don't even finish because I get bored. Uncharted 4 I can play 15 times without getting bored of. And playing that game again for this video just proves that for me. I would be remiss if I did not mention The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2 when talking about Naughty Dog and their games, because those two games are definitely some of my favorite games of all time, but in another way. In those games I am on high alert and have to be very aware of my surroundings just because of the nature of the gameplay. And that's actually one of the things I love the most about those games.
think she's got something. Got a scent, girl?
But it also has the effect of not letting the player rest for too long and not letting them really lean back into their seat and really relax. And therefore it never became a comfort game for me like Uncharted 4 did. But there are still games that I can return to from time to time because the gameplay is just so extraordinary, especially in The Last of Us Part 2. Now, the context of games and their gameplay is really not important. They can be as brutally violent as humanly possible to the extent that the actions you take in the game and the feelings towards the game doesn't really correspond with each other at all. But in some games I can truly feel at peace while mowing down civilians in a truck, even though that activity in and of itself doesn't seem that mindful. But because I know how the controls work, I know the streets of the game, and I know how all the gameplay systems work, I can feel at ease doing whatever in that world. That makes me feel at home. Experiences like logging into GTA 5, stealing the first car that you can find and just taking a road trip around the whole map. Maybe doing a quick detour up Mount Chiliad to see that beautiful sunset from the top of that mountain. And then on the way switching to Rebel Radio from Non-Stop Pub because now you're not in the city anymore and you want to immerse yourself in the countryside. I think GTA 5 is the single game I have played the most. And in my opinion it's because it's so easy to just lose track of time and get lost in that world. And they made the thing that you do the most so relaxing and easy to do. Driving. I think the driving is that game's biggest success. Many people like me start the game to take a quick road trip and get lost in the world for a few hours. You know which vehicle to drive in which terrain, you know how fast they are, and you know which part of the day the top of Mount Chiliad looks the most beautiful. GTA 5 is definitely on my list of game worlds that makes me feel the most at home, at peace and relaxed. One of the reasons for that is that I have driven around in that world longer than I've driven around in the real one. And I think it's a case of an open world that does a great job at giving the player the freedom to do what they want, make the world their oyster, their home. On the other hand, there are games where the developer does not want you to do whatever you want and make the world your own. They'd rather want you to experience the world through another person's point of view and become the character in a way. The world is not built around player freedom in Red Dead Redemption like it is in GTA 5, but rather around immersion and realism. Things take time, from skinning an animal, looting bodies, to just traversing the open world. It's kind of slow, but not annoyingly slow, realistically slow. In that way, it's much easier to feel like a cowboy or an outlaw in the Wild West. And rather than you making the place your home, the world itself does everything in its power to make itself your home, by just experiencing it. Red Dead Redemption 2 is still a game I return to from time to time if I yearn after that feeling that I know only that game can provide. You can put many hours into some games and not feel this way, and then you can play one game once and be stuck with this feeling for the rest of your life. When I think of games where I feel at home, it's games that make me feel at peace and gives me comfort. Some of the games are kind of ironic because, as I said, the actions you're doing in the game doesn't really correspond with my feelings towards it. But it doesn't really matter because I feel like when I play that game, I can truly lean back and just relax. Breathe in extra deep, listen to the music, and just experience the game world. Of course, many factors come into play, such as how much time you spent roaming around in the world, and if the overall vibe and tone of the game is something you really dig. But if you play a game for 1,000 hours straight, you might feel like you know everything, know the layout of the menus, know all the buttons to press, but it won't necessarily give you comfort. That's what I think is very interesting to think about. I've played way less Uncharted 4 than I've played games like PUBG. But because of the gameplay differences and how high my stress levels are while playing the latter, PUBG never became a game where I feel at home like Uncharted did. It kind of actually makes perfect sense to me when I think about it, because you wouldn't feel relaxed near a friend who was always stressed and demanding to do stuff. You would feel much more relaxed near a friend who you could do nothing with and still be happy. At least that's how I feel. A game series like Call of Duty might be really fun and entertaining to play, especially with a squad of friends, but it doesn't really compare to a game like Red Dead Redemption 2 when it comes to immersion and overall hominess, if you could say that, or how much you feel like you belong to the world. I really like games like Red Dead Redemption 2 because the world feels alive. You get the feeling that it doesn't wait for you. Birds pray, deer graze, and cowboys ride, whether you're there to see it or not. And other games certainly achieve this as well, but because Red Dead Redemption 2 achieves it at such a high level, that game is just, in my mind, a little bit ahead of all the others when it comes to immersion. People like different things. And that's why I know many people's comfort game actually is a Call of Duty game. And they might have not even played Red Dead Redemption 2. And it really doesn't matter what your comfort game is. There's nothing right or wrong about your answer because it's very subjective. Many of you who've watched this far into the video probably do not agree with everything I've said or have the same views as me. And the great thing is that you don't have to. I love that whatever your game is, it brings you comfort and a sense of belonging, just like Uncharted 4 does for me. The best thing about this medium is that there is a game for everyone. You, me, children, old people, and everyone in between. And sometimes when a game hits that right spot, it creates a connection that only this medium can create. Thanks for watching.